Olá, eu sou Katiuscia Sotomayor e este é o AgroAmérica, programa em parceria com o Instituto Interamericano de Cooperação para a Agricultura, o IICA, aqui no AgroMais, seu canal voltado para o agronegócio 24 horas. A proposta é mostrar iniciativas inovadoras e compartilhar boas práticas dos 34 Estados-membros, que podem ser replicadas em todo o mundo na busca pelo desenvolvimento agrícola e pelo bem-estar rural. Hoje, o assunto é o setor agrícola na Guiana, o papel da inclusão digital no campo, as oportunidades de ampliação das relações com o Brasil e a importância dos sistemas agroalimentares. Quem conversa com a gente diretamente de Georgetown é o ministro da Agricultura da Guiana, Zulfikar Mustapha. Welcome and thank you very much for your presence, Minister.
Thank you for having me on your program. I look forward to share our experience and our views with the global viewers out there.
Let's start then talking about the agri-food systems in your country and the government agenda. Could you please tell us what are the challenges to achieve sustainability, to provide enough food of adequate quality, to feed an ever-growing and aging population?
Thank you very much. As I said, that as a government, we are in government now for the last 7 months. We would have acceded to the government in August of last year, and we have set about immediately upon assumption to government, we have set about to start to work immediately in the agriculture sector to develop this sector because we recognize the importance of this sector. So what we did, because when we assumed government, there were a lot of work to be done, basic works. For example, the structures in the agriculture sector, the funding to the agriculture sector, and other things, support to the farmers were lacking. And we set about immediately to start that. As a matter of fact, last year, we had an emergency budget to deal with these issues, and also we have to look at the challenge that we face with the pandemic. You know, the COVID-19 would have put a lot of pressure on the agriculture sector, and we had to deal with that issue. It has resulted in unprecedented shock to the agri-food system in Guyana, Caribbean, even in the entire world, right, internationally. And we had to deal with that. Also, we had to deal with the challenges that when we went in government and what we had to face. And when we look back, I think that we came a far way over the last 7 months. We were able to develop linkages between the farmers. We were able to put back those dilapidated structure once again into proper order. We were able to give the kind of necessary funding to this sector so that we can facilitate farmers. In the end, what we are looking at to ensure that we safeguard food and nutrition security in the agriculture sector, because Guyana today has the potential, not only in the Caribbean, but in this part of the hemisphere, to be the agriculture powerhouse. And we are looking to ensure that we develop our sector to meet that goal. That goal is to ensure that we first of all develop our country sector and develop the Caribbean sector and also this part of the hemisphere, the South American part of the hemisphere. So we want to ensure that we safeguard food and nutrition security. We want to promote interregional trade amongst the Caribbean and among South American nations. We want to ensure the protection of agricultural livelihood, especially to rural farmers, to give them the kind of opportunities so that they can develop themselves, because many persons would have are dependent on agriculture for their livelihood. And at the same time, they need the kind of support. And we have been making and giving those kind of support to the farmers. We want to strengthen the overall resilience of the agri-food system.
Minister, how the private sector can contribute to this development?
Well, we have been forming a partnership with the private sector over the last few months. I have been meeting with the private sector, get their input in it. The private sector, we have been giving special concession to the private sector to assist farmers in their communities. For example, when you take out VAT and these inputs, the private sector will reduce the costs. Farmers will have the benefit there. The private sector also have been working with us to help the farmers to have market for the produce. For example, we have a big company in our country, DDL. DDL is doing juice for various agencies. Farmers will have the opportunity to sell to the DDL, sell their produce, and we are working with these private companies so that farmers can have a preferential prices for these produce that they are selling to these companies. So the private sector generally has been working with us. We have been creating that kind of partnership, and we have been having the private sector to support these farmers and support these cooperatives that we have in the country so that they can assist in helping the farmers to develop their their production, sorry.
What are the main crops you have in your country? You have corn, soy, dairy. What are the main products?
So we have a number of produce. First of all, we have the two main produce that we have are rice and sugar. We export both. We export in large scale. As a matter of fact, last year we have seen an increase in our rice production because of the work we have done. Also now we are revitalized and recapitalizing the sugar industry. We are exporting to the European Union, to North America, Central America, and also the Caribbean. Hoping that this sugar industry will improve over the years. What we have seen the last government did, they closed 4 sugar estates. We are on the verge of reopening those estates so that we can create, first of all, employment and also increase our sugar production. Over the last few months, we have seen an increase in sugar production. The trend are continuing, and the signs look very encouraging. In the rice sector, only yesterday I went to a farmer's day, and we are seeing vast potential in the rice sector this year. I think this will be the largest, this crop here that we are about to reap. This will be the largest crop in in the history of our country. And we are now looking for more markets around the world. As a matter of fact, we have we had 2 new markets. We had market in Hungary, we had market in Latvia, and in your own country, we were able to negotiate and improve the amount that we are supplying to Brazil from 10,000 tons to 34,000 tons through the partial scope agreement. And with the road linkage to Brazil that we are working with your government to develop through our interior area, through the gateway, through Region 9, we are hoping to improve that kind of trading with Brazil, and also with the deep water harbor that we are looking at to create in Region 6 in our country, in Berbice, in one of the regions in our country. We are hoping for more trade from the eastern end of Brazil, from the northern end of Brazil to come to Guyana. Rather than the Brazilian going to the Pacific coast, they come into the Atlantic coast to export their produce. We have a number of other crops, and these crops are a lot of cash crop, you call it. These crops, and we have a lot of these crops being exported in the Caribbean: pepper, tomato. Those are the crops. And then we're looking at the non-traditional crops that we want to develop now. And these are new crops. For example, we want to go into soya and we want to go into corn. So we want to be self-sufficient in terms of producing all the proteins for the poultry industry. So the main crops in Guyana are a number, and we have a number of crops, but I said the 2 main crops are sugar and rice, with a number of other crops. And now we are looking at corn and soya.
And you mentioned the relation with Brazil. Another issue is the transportation challenge, right? What is the current situation on the matter of the road connecting our countries that would open up opportunities of trade for both of us?
That will open up a lot of benefit for us, especially us, because what we are looking at the traffic. We are opening up new lands because the road linkage alone from Brazil will open up thousands of acres of land for us, fertile lands for us in Guyana, so that our farmers will have opportunities to go there to do agriculture. At the same time, we are looking at Brazil, the state of Roraima, to come to Guyana to export their produce through that road linkage. It will take them 3 days to come to Guyana rather than take them 2 weeks to go to the Pacific coast of Brazil. So the economic benefit will be tremendous for both countries, both for your people in Brazil and for us in Guyana. And I think that that will be a tremendous boost for both economies.
And technology. Technology has become more crucial than ever before to tackle the challenges facing the agriculture sector as a result of the pandemic, right? So digital inclusion should be a priority for agriculture in Latin America and the Caribbean. And also, of course, digital skills. What do you think about that?
Well, we have embarked on that program. We recognize the importance of the technology in agriculture. That is why now we are preparing our farmers, especially in the rural areas, to start go into this form of technology. For example, this year in our budget, we'll be procuring a number of tablets and a number of other electronics equipment to help farmers. So a farmer living in the remotest part of Guyana can send information to the city, to us here, so that we can help that farmers through technology to, as a matter of fact, to give them extension service from Georgetown to that interior location. So this year we'll see a revolution, so to speak, in the technology field. For example, I just talked about climate smart agriculture, and then we'll be procuring these instruments and these equipments so that we can help farmers to start and help them to train and be able to do these kinds of agriculture through this technology that we want. We are also helping them to get these drones so that they can use the drone to check on their crops, use the drone to do spraying in the agrochemical field. These are the things that we are trying to prepare our farmers so that they can be prepared to use technology to their advantage.
So innovation and research are subjects that are important for your government.
Definitely, and we have been working with international organizations like IICA. IICA has been playing a very important role in helping us. For example, I have spoken a number of forums at IICA, and I'm seeing that the benefits that we can get through IICA in terms of collaboration, not only in Guyana, but around the Caribbean. You know, for a fact, I want to make this point. Guyana is the leading agriculture country in the Caribbean. In CARICOM, they have various heads of government who speaks on various issues. Our president is the chief spokesperson on agriculture in the Caribbean. We are leading the agriculture agenda in the Caribbean. As a matter of fact, in the last heads of government meeting that CARICOM had, they set up a task force to deal with agriculture issue to advance the agriculture agenda in the Caribbean. Guyana will be chairing and leading that task force. It has about all the members of CARICOM will be members of that task force. And very shortly, I will be chairing that as Minister of Agriculture from Guyana, and we will be leading the agriculture agenda from Guyana. You know for a fact also, our former president, President Barra Jagdeo, would have developed an agenda called the Jagdeo's Initiative. The Jagdeo Initiative is a 10-point, like something how they have the Millennium Development Goal. Just like that, you have the Jagdeo's Initiative. The Jagdeo Initiative are issues that we should address so that we can take into consideration problems that are affecting people in the Caribbean. That initiative was adopted by CARICOM, and we are working to achieve those goals. Now, also our president, our present president, he would have presented a paper to CARICOM to improve the agriculture agenda in CARICOM, and we are leading that activity. So hopefully, as I said, that we will play this important role, because Guyana is referred to in the Caribbean as the breadbasket in the Caribbean, because with the vast land space, with the vast potential that we have in agriculture. As I said, we can be the agriculture powerhouse in the Caribbean and in this part of the hemisphere.
And we can say that international cooperation is a perfect way of improving that, right?
Definitely. And we have been working with, as I said, places like the FAO, IICA. We have very, very close collaboration. Even your country, when your Minister of Foreign Affairs visited Guyana not so long ago, we have had discussion in the area of cooperation where we can work together to develop both countries' economy through agriculture. And I think that hopefully after this pandemic, we can have physical meetings and we can have visit by various ministries and various high-ranking officials so that we can continue to develop this important sector. For me, as Minister of Agriculture of Guyana, this sector, the agriculture sector, is the most important sector because this sector creates jobs, creates wealth, but most importantly, creates food security for our country and the rest of the world.
You already told us that one of the engines of the local economy is sugarcane and rice exports. What about the livestock industry and its role in the food and nutrition security of the country?
Well, we are on the verge of developing our livestock industry because what we recognize that the livestock industry is very important for food security and at the same time to help us to have much foreign revenue into our country. So, for example, we are looking to develop the facilities that we have in our country. This year alone, we will be putting on modern slaughtering houses across our country, where we are looking to develop our beef industry, develop our pork industry. We will be putting up a modern pork facility, processing facility also this year to process pork, to have different made like sausages and things like that, produce it in our own country rather than to import it. Also, what we are looking at, because I know for a fact that Brazil has been exporting beef to the Middle East, we are also looking to capture some of those markets in the Middle East so that we have already had some very, very interested investors coming to Guyana to look at the livestock industry. And also what we are doing, we are looking to do large-scale poultry development to improve our poultry industry so that we can also, we already have self-sufficiency in our country in terms of poultry and other meats, but we are looking to develop it to export to other parts of the world so that we can bring in much needed revenue into our country. So the livestock industry is about to take off. We are putting a lot of funds in it. We are putting a lot of research into it. We are developing the labs. We are developing the intermediate savanna, where we have a lot of pastures. We have a lot of land, and we'll bring in more of these species. Like, for example, the bird industry, like the black giant bird. They are very, very good bird to wear to get to in the meat industry. So all in all, our poultry industry, our livestock industry is about to take off. And we, in another few years, will be a force to reckon with in this part of the world.
So, sustainability is another important subject. With the climate change affecting the production all over the world, what can we say about Guyana's vulnerability?
Climate change is a very serious concern for us and the rest of the world. You know for a fact that we are very concerned and we are very proactive with climate change. And again, I want to refer to the former president. He would have developed the low carbon development strategy to mitigate climate change, where we sell our forest oxygen to different various parts of the world. As a matter of fact, we have been making a lot of some funds through the deal that we have with Norway through our low carbon development strategy. But you know, Guyana is below the sea level. So when you go in the sea, Guyana is down rather than up. So we have to be very, very careful. We are looking at a number of areas because with the high intensity of rainfall now and with the Guyana prone to flooding, we are putting mechanisms in place to alleviate these problems. For example, where there are sluices to drain the water, we are working also to put pumps so that we can have 24 hours of draining rather than just 6 hours. So we recognize the importance, and that is why Guyana has to take cognizance of this issue on a very, very serious note to ensure that we put measures in place to mitigate climate change, to work in a way that will be sustainable for the agriculture sector and the country as a whole.
Water resources. What are the projects your country is running today to promote and generate value added through agribusiness and to solve problems with this resource?
First of all, I want to tell you that Guyana is an Armenian word, an indigenous people word, means land of many water. Guyana is abound with fresh water, right? So every part, this is not, water is not scarce in our country. I think per capita, and when you look at the size of our country, we have the most fresh water in the entire world in terms of the size of Guyana and the amount of water that we have. So what we have been doing, we have been looking at various parts of the country to ensure that our people get proper water facility, proper irrigation facility, get fresh water. And this is an area that we don't have, we are not short of. We'll continue to make it available to people. For example, we have the water, but we have to put the mechanism in place to ensure that we trap these water to get it to the various communities. And that we have been doing. We have through the Ministry of Agriculture and various arms of government, we have various departments that are working directly to enhance our water resources in our country, just to ensure that we take it to the various communities across the country. So that is an issue that we don't have problem with. We have abundant fresh water and we have enough water resources to do a lot of things in our country.
Are there plans to improve the training of small producers so that they can access financing, improve technological advances, and establish a real synergy with tourism, for example?
We have our agency too working with the small, first of all, to develop their produce. What we are doing now, we are on a campaign to create more agro-processing facilities across the country. This year alone, we will be building another 4 agro-processing facilities across our country into various regions, remote regions in our country. And also we are working with the Ministry of Tourism and Industry to start agro-tourism in our country. That's a big move now, so that we can bring in people to create revenue through agro-tourism, where we are developing these farms across the country where people can come and visit and start tourism there. So we are working aggressively to start this. As a matter of fact, we already had some started, and we are continuing to enhance it through the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Trade, Tourism, and Commerce. So we are collaborating to ensure that we get this done. And I think that we have been receiving positive feedbacks where many persons are coming now. For example, in some areas in our country, where people are doing farming, especially the interior location, the hinterland location, those are ideal location for agro-tourism. And we have started to promote it, and we are getting very good feedbacks and reviews.
And what are the other plans for 2021 and beyond? To access new markets, to ensure the achievement of increased levels of productivity, to reduce food imports, for example. How do you plan on doing that?
Well, first of all, we plan to give support to the farmers. We plan to open up more lands. We plan to make more lands available. We plan to give more technical advice and give more technical facilities to the farmers and benefits for the so they can benefit. As I said, that we want to tap in to the Caribbean markets where they are importing about $6 billion US annually. And if we want to do that, you will see this year alone, we will be opening close to about another 1,000 acre, a couple thousand acres of new land. Our rice production will increase. We are projecting to increase rice production tremendously this year. We are projecting to increase sugar production from 88,000 tons last year to 100,000 tons this year. And this is the kind of way we plan to increase it. Also, then the other crops, we will have more lands being made available. We'll have more lands available. We'll be doing more research. As a matter of fact, we have had new variety of rice. We have a new variety that move acreage from 40 bags per acre to almost 60 bags per acre. That we'll be doing, and that have started already. So you'll see more increase in production. What we have been doing too, through IICA, we had IICA giving us support, and we are now doing research to cultivate a new variety of rice, called it the biofortified rice. This has a lot of nutritional benefit. Instead of going to the drugstore to purchase tablets for zinc, you know, with the pandemic now, the doctors and the medical officials advising you to use a lot of zinc in your system. This rice is, when you read this rice, it has the zinc in it. So you don't have to go to the drugstore to buy zinc. We are now producing rice with enough zinc. So when you use this rice, you have the benefit of solving the hunger problem, and you also have the benefit of getting the zinc naturally from these produce. So over the next few years, in the next 5 years, in our agriculture development strategy that we are developing in the agriculture sector, we want to double production in the next 5 years. For example, if we are producing now 100,000 tons of rice, in another 5 years, we must produce 200,000 tons of rice. And we have, every year, we'll improve gradually to meet those targets.
And we should work more together, right? Improve the relations with Brazil.
Definitely, definitely. And Brazil and Guyana has a very close relation, working relation. I think that Brazil have been supporting us tremendously. And I am hoping that this pandemic we could ease the pandemic could resolve early so that we can continue the kind of collaboration and cooperation that Brazil and Guyana has and other parts of the Caribbean and Latin America.
Thank you so much for your time, Ministro da Agricultura da Guiana, Zulfikar Mustapha.
It was my pleasure to be in this program.
E no AgroAmérica de hoje, nós falamos sobre o papel da inclusão digital no campo, as oportunidades de ampliação das relações com o Brasil e a importância dos sistemas agroalimentares. Você pode rever este programa e também outras entrevistas no nosso canal no YouTube. Aproveite para seguir a gente nas redes sociais, @AgroMaisTV. Continue com a programação do AgroMais, seu canal voltado para o agronegócio 24 horas. Obrigada pela companhia. A gente se vê.